The Miocene Ocean was arguably the deadliest in Earth's history. As put by researcher Jack Blackburn, it was full of mesopredators that would easily qualify as apexes in most other time periods, and had monstrous top carnivores of its own. The world's oceans were connected with rich, nutrient-bearing currents, providing extremely high primary productivity that allowed for all of these powerful predators to freely coexist. But can the ecosystem remain stable when a video game monster, the giant, sleek Squidshark from Subnautica Below Zero, joins the roster? We'll cover how it adapts to its new home, where it might fit into the trophic pyramid, and how it handles the vicious competition from the Miocene's prehistoric hunters. And of course, how the Squidshark might evolve to better fit in on Miocene Earth, and how Earth changes to adapt to the alien invader. Squidsharks hail from the alien world of 4546b, a mostly water-covered planet known for its disturbingly enormous apex predators and baffling food web. The polar region of Sector 0, rich with kelp forests, glaciers, arctic lily pads, and ominous trenches, is where squidsharks specifically call home. They're one of Sector 0's largest predators. Officially, they're 11 meters long, but their in-game PDA entries and third-person POV shots make it clear that they can grow as large as 17.9 meters, although the majority likely aren't that large. Calculating their mass is a bit trickier since they're bulkier than eels but less robust than big sharks while having a mix of both their proportions. If you go in the middle ground by scaling up a typical short-fin mako shark, you'd expect fully grown squid sharks to weigh 5.4 tons at 11 meters and 23.2 tons at their high-end length of nearly 18 meters. Using more robust mako shark specimens would get higher estimates, but we have to recognize that squid shark tails are nearly half ventral sail, and that their heads aren't solid blocks, holding a large open space between their facial appendages. These large carnivores are comfortable in a variety of depths, hunting without issue in the shallow lily pad islands just as easily as the deep lily pad cave, which ranges from 320 to 630 meters below the surface. They're the apex predators in the deep twisty bridges biome, which goes down to 380 meters, and their large cephalopod-like eyes allow them to hunt in darkness. Squid sharks' large size allows them to swallow human-sized animals as if they were picking up a box of Cracker Jacks, but don't have the chewing apparatus to adequately process prey much bigger than that. Their grasping claw teeth structures, whatever they may be called, appear suited for snatching victims and shoving them down their throat rather than violently dismantling said victims, although their bite certainly isn't a weapon to be overlooked. That's important information for when we decide what Miocene animals they'd be best suited to hunt. Their intimidating mouth parts aren't their only trick. Squid shark tails aren't optimized for high-speed swimming, and most of the time they drift at moderate speeds through the waters of Sector 0, but their jet propulsion organs take in seawater and expel it with tremendous force upon command, giving them jump-scare level speed boosts when they want them. And see these two blue appendages? Those are electrical organs, capable of generating enough current to shut down human vehicles for short time periods, and can provide a stunning blast against larger animals. Why would that be necessary, you ask? Well, squid sharks live in the same broader ecosystem as chelicerates, 40-meter, heavily armored Livyatan-class predators that casually prey upon orca-sized, prickly beasties like the Cryptosuchus. Having defenses against such nightmare fuel carnivores is necessary if you're interested in the continuation of your own species. Squid sharks are also highly aggressive as a rule and lay eggs in order to propagate their progeny. This deposit and book it strategy lets them have a fast reproductive rate, making long-term survival in the harsh environment of Sector 0 more likely. Speaking of environment, the Pisco Formation is a dramatic shift from the squid shark's frigid polar home. The formation lasted roughly 5 million years and includes warm, shallow ocean environments off the coast of what is now Peru, including lagoons rich with seaweed and more open waters with enormous schools of fish and pods of whales. The temperature was similar to the modern Pacific, which around Peru ranges from 12 to 27 degrees Celsius or 53.6 to 80.6 Fahrenheit. That's notably warmer than the 0 to 20 Celsius of Sector 0, but with enough overlap that the squid shark wouldn't struggle finding comfortable waters. Most of the possible prey items it'll be interested in will be dwelling in relatively shallow waters, closer to the warm, plankton and fish-rich surface. We don't have many deep-water specialized animals from the Pisco Formation, with the best candidates being the dwarf and pygmy sperm whales, which range from 250 to 1500 meters below the surface. These small squid specialists indicate that a bathypelagic ecosystem existed in in the area, although the sediments that make up the Pisco Formation didn't preserve that wide of a region. Squid sharks would be able to dive to deeper, colder waters if they wanted to, but as mentioned earlier, are perfectly comfortable close to the surface. The atmospheric and oceanic gas composition of 4546b appears to be nearly identical to that of modern Earth, so I don't anticipate that squid sharks would have any trouble performing gas exchange in the Miocene, which ended only 4.5 million years ago. The giant facehuggers earn a solid 8 for home, with the only handicap being the potentially high temperature shift towards warmer waters. In some ways, the Pisco Formation is actually an improvement over Sector 0, with much more space to branch out and explore. Expanded territory implies an expanded menu. In their original home, squid sharks eat cat-sized fauna like bladderfish, boomerangs, and featherfish, but are clearly capable of swallowing human-sized prey in a single swallow. That's just for the 11-meter individuals, by the way, with the 18-meter giants boasting throats a meter wide and teeth that, while not designed for chewing, may have the raw piercing power to tear apart mid-sized prey upon impact. Fish are an obvious meal choice, and similar to many of the 4546b aliens that squid sharks dined on back home, the Pisco Formation has quite a few modern lineages of fish, including herrings, snooks, sea robins, swordfish, sardines, and rays, most of which are in the 1 meter range and easily swallowed whole. They'd be very common in shallow water, eating invertebrates and smaller fish themselves. Myliabatis, a type of eagle ray, hang out near the bottom and focus on eating crustaceans, and wouldn't be on a squid shark's radar most of the time given their preference for the water column. Giant six-gill sharks, Hexanchus gigas, are 7 to 8 meter scavengers built like linguini. They're unable to match the rapid bursts of speed generated by squid shark jet propulsion and might get bitten in half if not swallowed by bigger specimens of the alien predator. Sea turtles like Pacificellus and Chelonia have thick armor but are too slow to escape and not big enough to get stuck on the way down. The Miocene also has a type of organism that squid sharks have a rough understanding of, water birds. Although unlike the charming penguins that waddle along the ice shelves of Sector 0, most of these water birds can fly. They dart above the surface and snatch opportunistically at fish, resting on the waves when necessary. It's not out of the question for a squid shark to charge at high speed and use its web of teeth to grab a tired petrel or gannet, and with both a high diversity and density of water birds, it'll have plenty of chances. Between Fulmaris, Morus, Phalacrocorax, Ramphastosula, pelicans, and the pseudo-toothed Pelagornis, not to mention 4 species of penguin that are forced to hunt in the water, the squid shark is spoiled for both choice and opportunity. It may learn to use its electric attack to stun birds when just beneath them, making sure they don't take off before it gets to eat them. Pinnipeds and cetaceans dominate the next size tier of ideal prey. Acrophoca and Piscophoca, along with a half-dozen other fragmentary seal species, ranged from 1.5 to 2.3 meters long and specialize in eating small fish, making them both potential meals and competitors. Seal agility may make them difficult to hunt, but squid sharks have relatively small turn radii for their size as well, and have the advantage of jet propulsion and fan-like engulfing mouthparts to launch ambushes from a relative standstill. Small dolphins like Adacetus, Brachydelphis, and Mesokentrodon should fit in the gullet of most adult squid sharks, but their sprinting speed might be fast enough to avoid even a bull rush. Just like with seals, ambushing these agile, fast, and intelligent predators is the most reliable way to capture them, but success rates would be far below 100%, as with most hunts in nature. Other small and slower whales might be better options. Odobenocetops was only 3 to 4 meters long and would be easy prey despite its long tusks, as they were likely too fragile to be used in a self-defense capacity and aren't arranged as stabbing weapons. Piscobalena was a 5-meter baleen whale with virtually no defenses against a toothy carnivore 2 to nearly 4 times its size, although individuals on the larger end might be too big to swallow and so could avoid being targeted. Mamaxiphius and Mesopycetus were small-beaked whales that were hunting actively in the water column, providing competition in addition to calories. Lomacetus, the porpoise, doesn't have the weaponry to defend itself and is right in that swallowable size range. Deep-water squid sharks would encounter Kogia and Charistocetus, pygmy sperm whales going after squid in the darkness, and could eat both the whales and their tentacled prey. What about ground sloths? Well, Vividen, that's a weird question. The Pisco Formation was a marine environment. What do you mean ground sloths? Turns out this already rich ecosystem also was home to 5 species of ground sloths that gradually became more aquatic as the fossil record goes on, displaying a chronospecies that adapted in geological real time. Thalassocnus antiquus was the first, and most terrestrially adapted, but across the line of T. natans, littoralis, Corollo martini, and uasensis, we see the changes occur. Those changes include wider, low-facing snouts, shift of nostril location, and pachyostosis, or a densening of the skeleton to help the sloth stay underwater for longer. They lived in the shallow regions of the formation and were the perfect size for squid sharks to target, while also being far too slow to escape. I'm not really sure what else you expected. They're sloths. They're going to be lumbering even in the ocean. Some animals here are simply too large even for the biggest squid sharks to predate upon. The two species of the rorqual Incacujira, Anillo de Fuego and Florice, reach 8 and 11 meters respectively, too big for the cephalopod-faced alien to adequately process, although lone babies and juveniles might be on the menu. Balaenoptera sibri was a relative of humpbacks and blue whales that ranged between 9 and 18 meters long, with corresponding masses of 3 to 28 tons. Again, young individuals aren't out of the range of possibility for a big squid shark, but adults are far too large to eat. Overall, though, we're looking at a 10 for hunger. The menu in the Miocene is far more expansive and diverse than that of Sector 0, with plenty of fish, mid-sized aquatic vertebrates, and birds. The invasive squid shark population doesn't need to be eating giant whales to be successful. They coexisted with glow whales just fine while focusing on small to medium prey, and there's no reason they can't do the same here now that they have far more meal options than they did before. So far, the Miocene is looking mighty fine. That may change when we cover hunger, the threats and competition offered by this prehistoric planet. The expansive menu of small to medium to enormous prey means that the ecosystem can support absurd densities of large, active carnivores that are interested in the same food items as the squid sharks. The first we'll cover are perhaps the most bizarre. Marine gharial relatives like Piscogavialis and Sakakosukis. Sakakosukis was a 4.3 meter, fully aquatic generalist hunter that ate fish, small mammals, and possibly unwary water birds. Piscogavialis pushed the envelope at over 8 meters long and near a metric ton, and based on its skull structure specialized in hunting the more speed-adapted fish of the Pisco Formation, like sardines, darting through the water to catch them by surprise with its long jaws. In terms of body plan and hunting style, this is the most similar competitor to the squid shark itself. There are also actual sharks, oodles and oodles of them. Carcharius taurus, the spotted ragged-toothed shark, is common in shallow waters and are stealthy nocturnal hunters, capable of moving in sudden bursts to snatch prey to the sides of their heads. They're competing for bony fish, other sharks, crustaceans, and squid, all important resources for big carnivores. At 2 to 3 meters when fully grown, however, they might be on the menu themselves in addition to being competitors. Indeterminate requiem sharks hunt similar prey and reach potentially 4 meters long, and are known for their extreme speed. They may be able to match or exceed the squid shark's jet propulsion and snatch up prey before the bigger carnivore can reach it. Carcharodon carcharius, the great white shark, lives in the Pisco Formation, along with Carcharodon hubelei, which was basically a slightly more primitive flavor of great white. Remember, the Pisco Formation lasted 5 million years, so not all species coexisted at the same time, but it works for the purposes of this video. These robust marine mammal hunters range from 3 to 5 meters and 600 to 1900 kilograms, and will offer stiff competition in pursuit of the various seal and tiny whale species of the region. Carcharodon hastalis, informally referred to as the broad-toothed mako, was even bigger at 5 to 7 meters, and could be a significant threat to young squid sharks given its enormous gape and powerful bite. Carcharodon plicatilis, the giant white shark, pushed 7.6 meters. Suddenly, the squid shark will begin to feel pressure not only from competitors, but from fast, strong carnivores that actually can injure it and hunt its young. Isurus oxyrhynchus, the short-finned mako, is much smaller than the big Carcharodon species, but is wicked fast, able to achieve top speeds of 46 miles or 74 kilometers an hour, twice as fast as typical Subnautica submersibles. It's only a fraction of the size of a squid shark, but could swim circles around it, stealing small prey before the alien could suitably respond. Crocodilians and sharks are far from the only competitors here. The 7-meter beaked whale, Cenozoic platyrostris, had a strong bite and sharp teeth and could take down seals and large fish, in addition to harming squid sharks with aggressive rams while in groups. Acrophyseter was a small raptorial physetoroid or sperm whale relative adapted for hypercarnivory, taking down other whales near its own size as well as butchering seals with its monstrous jaws. Pound for pound, Acrophyseter's weaponry is even more formidable than a squid shark's, and they'd likely go after young individuals with ambushes in order to avoid being zapped. Hemicentricellus was a 4-meter orca relative with a robust skull, yet another mid-range mammal, squid, and fish hunter to crowd the stage even further. With over a dozen confirmed competitor species close to or in the squid shark size range going for the same types of food, the alien has its work cut out for it. But at 11 to 18 meters, it's still by far the biggest predator of the formation, even if it's adapted for hunting proportion. Oh wait, what's that? Livyatan and megalodon, each with a steel chair? That's right, we saved the Pisco Formation's apex predators for last. And unlike the Reaper Leviathan in the Western Interior Seaway episode, this Subnautica carnivore finds itself physically outmatched. Livyatan melvillei was an enormous visciteroid with a robust skull and sharp railroad spiked teeth up to a foot long, essentially the Tyrannosaurus of carnivorous whales. Only the skull of the holotype was preserved, forcing us to guess the total length based on close relatives and providing a range of 13.5 to 17.5 meters, with corresponding masses of 26 and 57 tons. Even on the lowest end, that's bigger than the largest Squidsharks, with high-end Livyatan at more than double the size of our alien invader. Regardless of its body proportions, the hyperpredatory whale's skull was 3 meters long and armed with flesh-crushing teeth that could tear a typical Squidshark in half, although the Squidshark's zappy electric arms might prove to be effective deterrents after the initial incident. However, the big whale's spermaceti organ may significantly reduce the effectiveness of that defensive mechanism, and it might just find the alien meals a little on the spicy side. Ignoring the fact that Livyatan could inflict fatal wounds on even exceptionally large squid sharks with a single bite, the competition it presents is brutal. Livyatan was adapted to go after seals, sharks, and other whales, chomping down on the mid-sized prey that squid sharks want in addition to hunting the giants that squid sharks can't. Then there's Otodus megalodon, the largest confirmed macropredator in the history of planet Earth. After being dropped into the oceans of 4546b in Pandora, this megatoothed shark is ready for a home field advantage. A 2015 survey of over 500 specimens found an average body length of 10.5 meters or 34 feet. But here's the kicker. That was including a large number of juveniles and even babies, which significantly brought down the average. Typical adult megalodon appear to have been closer to 16 meters and roughly 30 tons, shorter than a maximum size squid shark but notably more bulky, not to mention with superior biting weaponry. The thing is, these sharks keep growing for an incredibly long time, so big megs are on a completely different level. A study published yesterday, as of this video's writing, details the rediscovery and redescription of gigantic megalodon vertebrae from Denmark, along with basking shark remnants believed to represent stomach contents. These verts have been nicknamed the Yellowstone hyperpredator or Ragnarok at various times on the internet, and correspond to a 24.3 meter supergiant that would have weighed roughly 94 tons. That's the same weight as 17.4 average squid sharks, with jaws wide enough to swallow one whole. Here's the terrifying thing. This 2026 study analyzed the growth marks on Ragnarok's vertebrae, and well, it wasn't fully grown. While growth was slow and getting slower, the team estimated it could have stopped at about 28 meters or 92 feet in total body length, resulting in a terrifying mass of 143 tons. 26.6 average squid sharks, in case you were wondering, and a size worthy of a true Subnautica leviathan. Megalodon's hunting style could be a problem, too. Studies of wounds on victimized whales indicate that they took two approaches, ramming the chest cavity from underneath in a high-speed battering ram ambush, and biting down on the head for an immediate killing blow. While an adult meg and adult squid shark aren't too far off from one another in terms of body length, the meg is 5 times the weight and has the sheer momentum to fatally harm the alien even if the zappy tentacle things get in the way. And if you want to compare maximum sizes, the contest tips even further in favor of Earth's sharp-toothed champion. Hanger is a 5. Tons of extra food means tons of extra dine-in customers, many of which are capable of matching a squid shark physically in strength or speed. Squid sharks didn't overlap in terms of diet with chelicerates, but Livyatan and Megalodon will both be going after seals and small whales to really put the hurt on the invasive species. And both native apexes are capable of taking down even the biggest squid sharks. The alien invaders didn't have a lot back on 4546p, but they did have it easy. The 3 factors of home, hunger, and hanger combine for a thrive rate and a life score of 7.6. Not excellent, but definitely stable enough to keep a breeding population going. The environment is vast, pleasant, and welcoming. There's more food than a squid shark knows what to do with. And while it's not the apex predator by any means and has to deal with a horde of other fast carnivores, it's big enough and fast enough to feed itself without overtaxing the ecosystem. The real question is, how best could squid sharks adapt to the Miocene given a few million years of evolution? Let's find out. Ornithovenator volans, the flying bird hunter. This descendant of squid sharks took advantage of its already enormous pectoral fins and developed them even further, along with forming a powerful stiff caudal peduncle. Its grasping teeth protrude out even further from its head. As the name indicates, these adaptations were selected for a diet of waterfowl and flying birds. Ornithovenators are much smaller than their alien ancestors, at 4 to 6 meters long when fully mature, but focus on raw speed. Their keen eyes detect bird activity from as deep as 100 meters beneath the water, and then they bull rush at their targets, aided by jet propulsion and a powerful tail. Just beneath the surface, they expand their mouths and snatch the chosen victim inside a cage of enormous teeth, often breaching due to their incredible velocity built up during the charge. It's rare but not unheard of for an ornithovenator to catch birds midair above the waves, a phenomenon known as a claw jump. Titanolusca ferox, the fierce mollusk titan. Named after the mythical Caribbean monster Lusca, which resembles an enormous hybrid of an octopus and shark, Titanolusca has adapted to become one of the 3 apex predators of the formation. Its egg-laying strategy allowed for a high turnover rate that gradually selected for larger, more robust individuals over time, better able to resist attacks from Livyatan and megalodon. It developed sharp, chimera-like venom spines as additional defenses, and its electric limbs split into 6, reducing the risk of ambushes from beneath. Titanolusca specialized in consuming medium-sized dolphins, sharks, and small whales, snatching them from the water and engulfing them with their enormous fanged facial tentacles, as well as taking down young Livyatan and megalodon in order to eliminate future competition. Original squid sharks are still around, albeit in smaller numbers than before. Some of that population decrease is due to branches evolving into new taxa that are more successful than their ancestors, and another is the advent of Tyrannophyseter, these large, toothy descendants of Acrophyseter that harass and mob base squid sharks, occasionally killing them with ramming attacks and stealing their kills. Tyrannophyseter are fast and agile, have thick fat layers that insulate them against electric defenses, and have evolved enormous gapes that can tear huge chunks of flesh out of squid shark sides and tails. They also hunt seals, large fish, and cetaceans their own size or bigger, coordinating attacks with clicks and squeals that have the additional effect of confusing and disorienting their prey. Bold and aggressive creatures, Tyrannophyseter only fear the presence of Livyatan, megalodon, and Titanolusca. How do you feel about the squid shark's performance? What other routes for speculative evolution would you have found interesting? And finally, comment with the prehistoric ecoswap video you'd most like to see next. I'm going to be taking a break from uploading for a few weeks while we welcome our wee baby boy into the world and focus on learning how to be new parents, so expect new videos from me at the beginning of August. If you'd like to help support me while I'm making the adjustment, you can join the channel for just a couple dollars a month or check out my new book, Extinction Obsidian Dawn. Oh yeah, and we have merch, I keep forgetting about that. I am the Vividen, and the next time you hear my voice, I'll be the Vivid Dad.